Ah, man, I wish we were like in the room together, like I could see you. But hey, I'm stepping out of COVID with a new do. What y'all think? Yeah, can I have a chat? Yes, y'all. Yes. All right, all right, all right. Yes, yes, yes. I decided to cut it off. And this is my first debut. So I feel like that's the best way to master your mindset is to be able to get a new attitude with a new hairdo. So in the chat, how are you feeling? How are you feeling over these last 2 months? If you could in the chat describe the emotions that you've been feeling in 2 words. 2 words. What, or if you wanted 4, how would you describe your emotions? Thank you. Over the last 2 months. If you could put that in the chat. We got push, pull. Brandy says push, pull. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Overwhelmed, tired, adjusting, ironically relieved. Jonelle says, yes. Ironically relieved. Yes. I'd love to know more about that. If you could, Jonelle, tell us. Thankful, stressed, shocked, and surreal. Pressure cooker, pausing, energized, and exhausted. No stress. Who that? Who that? Moja Bean. All right. Blessed. Working hard. Awesome. Linda says, keep it coming. Tell me. Better. Overwhelmed. Disappointed. Over it. Accomplished. Finished masters. Ooh, congratulations, Shayna. Overwhelmed. Blessed. Underground and lost, Leanne says. Unfocused, Cece says. Love that name, Cece, because I have a Cece of my own. Congrats, congrats, Shayna. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I feel you. Yes, yes, yes. Well, ladies, you are not alone in the feelings and emotions that you all have. And I want to let you all know that I can echo every single one of these comments. And I just want to say to you that I heard this quote, and you may have heard it. We all might be in the same storm, but we are not in the same boat. Right? We are in this water, this uncharted territory water. We are in the storm in the middle of the ocean, but hey, we all have different boats that we are in. And so I want to be able to, I'm going to share my screen because I want to be able to give you guys some tools to work with. All right, 1 second. And I want to tell you guys where I come from. I come from, as Nina said, from the social and emotional learning world. So with that being said, I'd like to give you guys some reference. You're not alone, okay? During this March 23rd, 2020 survey, the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and that's who I follow, a guy named Mark Brackett, and the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning conducted a survey. More than 5,000 people. Here's what they said. Here's where the top 5 feelings. 95% of them said anxious, fearful, worried, overwhelmed, and sad. And only 6% of the sample mentioned positive feelings like hopeful and grateful, right? So you're not alone in feeling this way. Now, my next question, and dare I ask, is how are you all coping with the stress? Should y'all want to share? I mean, this might not be something you want to, some of you guys are like, I don't mind sharing, but, I'm going to actually go out of this mode, and I want to be able to see if you guys want to share that, because some of you guys might want to share, some of you might not want to share. But Betsy says, starting a business. Wine, Sabrina says. Yes, wine is definitely on the list. And anything else? Anybody else want to say? One day at a time, teaching yoga, reading, deep breathing, taking it one day at a time, meditation, sleeping, poetry, ambitious endeavors, working out 7 days now, talking to my family, continuing service to others, and doing some personal growth. At first started eating, got control of that, started to walk and find projects, learning Turkish. Some of you might be wondering, I'm reading from the chat. Being more intentional. I'm great, growing and learning. Missing people, Helen says. Yes, so these are great things of people are finding a way to cope. The key is finding that cope. Let me tell you what the study says. people are finding a way to cope like this: screaming and losing their temper, obsessively cleaning, overthinking, consuming too much media, avoidance and oversleeping, and only a few references to mindfulness and meditation. So I want to say, why are they feeling that way? We all know what's going on, right? Finances. We don't know what's happening because some of us don't have jobs. Some of us might be having our job downsized, balancing working home, work and family life. How many of you are a person who works, who's a teacher, and you are a mom? You got all that going on right now, feeling cooped up. I know this rain has caused a lot of us to feel some kind of way because, we're home, we've been doing this for 2 months now, and we're feeling cooped up. So a lot of people are fearing contracting COVID. And that has been a valid fear for a lot of people. And lack of access to groceries and cleaning supplies. Thankfully, we've got the toilet paper people keeping up with everything. Okay, good. So this is probably something you guys can all resonate with. So I want to share that with you because I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because I need to get real with you guys, and I need to keep it real, which is kind of my MO. No, it is my MO. Listen, I've been feeling some kind of way. My emotions have been all over. And I just wanted to share this with you because I had to figure out, what is the root cause of my emotion? Why am I feeling? And I'm going to share with you what I've been feeling. My stomach has feeling a little queasy from time to time. I would wake up at I was waking up at 3:30 a.m. I was waking up at 3:30 a.m. looking around. Why aren't you going to sleep? My mind was starting to race. My mouth was getting dry often, drinking lots of water. Of course, I have had some glasses of wine, of course. But I've also been feeling just out of sorts. And so what I realized, I needed to figure out what's going on at the surface of that. Undoubtedly for me, you guys wrote what was going on with you. If you haven't noticed, schools are struggling right now, especially public education. Where was I starting to focus all my work and my efforts? Public education. Some of you all might know that there's a $300 million cut to public education, and in Ohio only. And so the likelihood of a consultant like myself being, hired was slim to none. So that rocked me. All right. That was like, whoa, that was crazy. And some of you also know that in January of 2020, I had this gigantic coming out party. And you were there, to say, this is what I'm doing. Let's go, let's rise. And then it just went flat. Right. So that was awesome. But let me tell you what else was going on. What else was going on was, as I was getting deeper in my mindset, I was starting to realize, growing up in my home, I dealt with a lot of trauma. And my father didn't allow us to go anywhere. What we did growing up primarily was made home fun. So we couldn't go anywhere. So we were stuck inside the house a lot. And we would like going to the park. Somebody goes, I love going for walks now, right? Because that was our escape, to go to the park or to go to church. That was what we did. Or we were able to just go to our backyard, make mud pies. That was something. And I started to realize the emotions and feelings that I was feeling were the exact same emotions and feelings I felt in my first 17 years of life, which was filled with trauma. And I was starting to realize, oh my gosh, I am reliving in my body what I was feeling as a child. Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of you may not know this, but this is what I want to talk about today, is our mindset, right? Because we've got to start taking control of what's going on in our minds, because we will begin to project what it is that we grew up with, or past experiences and past trauma, into our current day experience. Now, I want to tell you something. No one ever told me any of this information in any of the education I've ever had in high school, in college, nor law school. Can I have in the chat anyone who's ever been told about how to deal with your emotions and your mindset, unless you went to school to become a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a school counselor? That does not count. But how many? Nope. There says nope. Leah says nope. Micah says nope. Anybody else? Tell me yes or no. How many of you were told how to deal with your emotions, how to deal with your mindset, how to deal with your feelings? No. I had to ask my mom for help. Betsy, how'd that go? Aaron, no. Betsy, nope, she didn't know. She didn't know. No, anyone. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, right. You had to read Carol Dweck's, Leanne says, I read Carol Dweck's book called Mindset, but that didn't come out until later. Sabrina says, one class in business school that was nicknamed touchy-feely, as if it was a bad thing to talk about your feelings, right? My dad saw showing emotions as a weakness. Most people do. Brandy says she's turned to yoga to try to learn. Okay, ladies, let's get information. All right? Beyonce is the theme today. So we're going to get information to talk about our mindset. Are you ready? So I'm going to share my screen because I need y'all to take some notes. This is an active virtual power hour, right? We got to get the power. You guys need to get this power. I do not care if you are 20 years old, if you are 50 years old, or if you're 85 years old. Now is the time to master your mindset. Can I get a whoop whoop? Y'all give me some snaps up in here. Okay, so here we go. So let's go. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, because this is all, y'all, this is all the work I've been doing. So check it out. 95% of your life is lived through the subconscious programs of your mind. 95 freaking %. What does that mean? That means that your daily life is already programmed. You are simply living your life based upon your programs that you've already have in your mind. Only 5% are conscious thoughts. You're like, that's not true. Oh, come on. It totally is true. That's the reason why we have this thing called bias, right? Right? We have this book, and you guys are going to hear me. I am the proverbial book quoter. So you guys, y'all, look, I know women of Toledo like stats. Women of Toledo likes to know you ain't just coming outside your side of your mouth. You got some stats up. Yes, I do. It's called the hidden bias. It's called blind spot, hidden bias of good people, right? This is what I teach. If 95% of your world is coming from your subconscious brain, that means that you're going to respond initially. You're going to respond based of what's already in the background. Am I right? Am I right? Jonelle, who is my school counselor, you affirm me. Tell me if I'm speaking out of school here, okay? You're going to tell me. She's going to give me some comments, right? So anyways, all right, so 95, let's get to going here. If 95% was from your subconscious, that means that some of you, if you didn't know this, let me get here because I'm having some problems here. Your brain is being programmed through this pandemic. Your brain is being programmed through this pandemic. That means that the imprints of what's going on right now are going to be programmed in your brain. So what's going on, and this is exactly why we need to be aware of what's going on, because you will be taking on more trauma, right? This is the word. It's called trauma. This is a traumatic experience for most people, right? So that's why I want you to know your brain is being programmed through this pandemic. So now this next slide I'm about to show you, I'm just going to keep it really real. I was pissed when I found out, that's a very big word, Diana, in a very structured format like we're having right now. But I was angry when I found out about this study. Who's heard of the adverse childhood experience study. Chat it up. Who has heard of this before? Tell me if you've heard of this before. All right. I'd never heard of this study. It's called the adverse childhood experience. Nope. Okay, listen up. I told you guys we're going to learn something today. This is a study that was done in 1994 between the Center for Disease Control and the Kaiser Permanente. This study was 17,000 middle-class Americans documented clearly that adverse childhood experiences can contribute significantly to negative adult physical and mental health outcomes. More than 60% of adults. You guys, that's a huge study. Now, you might like, how does this relate to me? So at the bottom of this screen, can we get these slides to everyone? Are we going to be able to get these slides to everyone? Okay, good. I want you all in the slide, you're going to be able to find your ACE score. There are 10 questions that if you go and click on this link, you're going to be able to answer these questions to see if you have a high ACE score. 10 questions. Guess what, you guys? I am a 9 out of 10. I have a 9 out of 10. Oops, let me go back on this. So you guys see this here? Now listen, it shows the relationship between birth and death. This is the World Health Organization also has this study, right? So you see here at the bottom of this study is those adverse childhood experiences. What does that do? Look at the triangle. It says it affects your social and emotional cognitive impairment. You start to adopt health risk behaviors. Then you start to project disease, disability, and social problems, and an early death. Let me tell you something. I'm from a family of 7. I'm number 6 in my family. And if you all have read my book, Inspiration in My Shoes, you know the trauma that I've endured. Some of you need to be writing your own story so that you can dig down deep to figure out what you have endured. Now, why was I upset and use that word? It's all on the recording. I shouldn't have said that, right? It's all recorded. But anyways, that's how I feel when I found this study out. And guess what, guys? I did not find out about ACE until I got in my 40s. I did not find out about this study until I was in my 40s. And I'm still in my 40s. No, I'm not. But I didn't find out about this. Now, why was I upset? Because in 1994, my brother tried to take my mom's life. And he ultimately took his own. He committed suicide. The same year the study came out. Now, I was in law school at the time. I did not know any of this. No one told me how to deal with my emotions. No one told me that 95% of me operates from my subconscious programs. Nobody told me that I might have some cognitive impairment. No one told me that I might be feeling sick, and the stomach feeling that you're feeling right now can cause health risk behaviors based upon the trauma you endured. No one told me that I might have my issues of my social issues, which some of you are like, social issues, you didn't have a problem. If you read my book, you would know that I was constantly talking about it because that was my way of coping. And just 3 years ago, my sister, my oldest sister, went to sleep and never woke up. Both my oldest sister and my youngest brother, my only brother, did exactly what the adverse childhood experience study says happens. So if you're wondering, do I take this very seriously? Yes. This work that I'm talking about, mastering your mindset, do I take it very seriously? Yes. It hits home for me. And I didn't realize that I was dealing with this thing called trauma. So I have this up here called Trauma is Real. Together we can heal. Now, this is a document that's from a consulting company, Soulbird Consulting. And I want to give a shout out to Sarah Buffy at Soulbird Consulting for putting this wonderful frame together, because there's a lot to talk about, but we don't have time. But I need to give you some pointers. Here's the fact. Number one, see at the top, concept. Trauma is stored in the body. Absolutely. So if you're the person who has never heard of this study, right? You never heard this study, and you're feeling some kind of way with this pandemic and you can't understand why, you might need to check your programs and see that the trauma is stored in your body, right? And the healing must start with the body. Trauma is stored in your body. And I only started to know that when I started doing yoga. Guys, I was in my mid-40s when I started learning about that. That's tragic. That's tragic. I wish I would have been in my 20s. Okay? So you know I'm an advocate, right? So y'all better be writing this stuff down so you can start telling our young people about this stuff and start working on it for yourself. Regulation, concept number 2, where the stretching, regulation is a practice. This is not something where you wake up one day and you go, I'm good. No, you have to do this as a practice, right? So it's just in every day, just today, I'm going to do this. It's an everyday practice. Third concept, perceived threat and real threat feel the same in the body. You need to know that. A perceived threat and a real threat are the same in the body. And the reason why she wrote connect before you correct, that's because, you know, I spent a lot of time in education, right? And there's some educators on here. You know, Helen, my mother-in-law, taught for upwards of 40 years in public education. Thank you for our educators out there. Key is that if there's a perceived threat from a kid who lives in trauma, should you correct them right away or should you try to connect with them right away? Because they might be acting out of their trauma. Whose fault is that? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Let's look at this other concept. Trauma symptoms are survival strategies. Trauma symptoms are survival strategies. So you saw that screen that I posted before, the slide that said screaming, hollering, shouting, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All those things, those are the programs. Somebody's like, I don't scream, I don't shout, I don't do anything like that. That might be because your programs say that when you're in trauma, you rest. That wasn't mine. Now, my old self, had I been, dealing with this pandemic, maybe let's say, for instance, 25 years ago, screaming, shouting, hollering, that's a likely thing. My husband deserves a huge award for staying with me for these past 23 years. I have been a little hot mess. So the last concept is healing happens in relationships, right? So therefore, all of us who are dealing with trauma and feeling these some kind of way, we are not connecting with people. Our relationships are over here. So the trauma is extra, right? Are you guys feeling this? I'd like to see faces. So are y'all feeling this? You know what I'm talking about, right? So the affirmation is, I am enough. I'm enough. So the concept for trauma symptoms are survival strategies. It affects me, but it's not about me. So these are, yes, Brandy, 100%. Thank you, Leah. Okay, so now that you guys got that, this little card or this slide right here, this is so the truth. And again, thank you to Sarah Buffy for putting this together and sharing this with, because it really quite nicely summarizes trauma in a nutshell. All right, so let's move on here, because you need to know that let me get to this. You need to stand guard at the door of your mind. Okay? Stand guard at the door. What does that mean? Let me tell you something. The brain doesn't know the difference between the internal world of the mind and what we experience in the external world. Did y'all know that? Right? So you have to have boundaries, right, Betsy? So here's what you have to do. Lower the volume of the external world, right? What's the external world? News, media, movies, podcasts, music, people. Y'all sitting here drinking all this stuff in, and it's filling up your programs. And you're sitting here like, I don't know why I'm so crazy. Blah, blah, blah. If I watch 4 hours of news, I'm going to be crazy, right? So you have to stand guard at the door of your mind so that you can find out what's going on in the internal world. Y'all feeling this? We got to know what's going on in the internal world. All right. So change your brain, change your state of mind, change your state of being, master your mindset. Ladies, you're in formation, right? This is the work that we all need to be doing, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. This is why we call it a virtual power hour. We ladies need to get information so that we can control this, so that we can be more confident and courageous in our work and controlling how we see this world. So how are we going to do it? Number one, wake up. Wake up. Wake up to the fact that if y'all have 6 dissertations that you've written, you have PhDs coming out of everywhere, you have law degrees coming out of everywhere. If you have not studied any of this stuff, I guarantee you're going to be messed up from the floor up, right? I do not care how many letters you have behind your name. This is what we need to be doing. This is our work, right? So here's number one is wake up to the fact that we need to be doing this work. Number 2, start with meditation. Thanks, Betsy. Yes, start with meditation. What is meditation? You're like, I've tried that. That doesn't work for me. Well, right. That's because you didn't work it, right? How many of you guys started working out and you're like, it doesn't work for me. I'm done. Because your brain needs work. Your brain needs work. So this is a method to change your state of mind done first thing in the morning time. Now, here's what I'm going to talk to you real quick is that, we have what's called a beta state in our mind and an alpha state and a beta state, right? And one is where we're active. One is where we're kind of calm in that state of mind where we're sleeping, this is not sleeping, but we're conscious and we are awake, but we are getting our mind to get into a state of releasing it from its environment, releasing it from its time, and releasing it from your body and just getting very relaxed. So this is meditation. We do not have time to go into the details of meditation. If you take my Pivot and Rise Mastermind, we will, but that's another side point. Start with meditation. Second, we have to identify the problems in our life by doing our own life review. So some of you haven't taken the time to do your own life review. For the better part of my 25 years, my past 25 years of life, I have been working on Diana. My greatest work is to work on Diana. Brandy says, Headspace and Insight Timer are great places for meditation. Thank you so much for that. Yes. So here are some questions. And by the way, this is coming from the book called Break the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Get a New One. And I love these questions because the meditation starts to kind of get you into this state. And then I want you to ask yourself these questions. This is work, right? We're here for the power hour, so we're trying to get some power. What kind of person have I been? What type of person do I present to the world? What kind of person am I really like on the inside? And is there a feeling that I experience, even struggle with over and over again every single day? It's like you go to sleep and you wake up with the same problem, right? Expecting, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. What is that? Insanity. How would your closest friends describe you, right? Is there something about yourself that you hide from others? These are the real questions that I want us to ask ourselves, right? I'm trying to move things around. I can't see the screen like I like to. And then what part of my personality do I need to work on? All right. that's the first set of questions. And then I want you to pick one survival emotion. Look at these survival emotions. Do you guys have any, pick one, only one. Which survival emotion do you experience right now? Are you experiencing mostly right now? You want to say, I don't have any of those. Great. That's good for you. You guys are not in survival emotion mode, right? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but if you want to, that's fine. Insecurity, unworthiness. Yes. Only one survival emotion. Oh my gosh. These are all of them. Sabrina, fear. Yes. Right. These are the kind of, I have quite a bit, but pick one for right now. Anger, shame, fear, sadness. Yes. These are the survival emotion. Anxiety. Yes, absolutely. What you can name it, you claim it, you capture it. Guilt, anxiety. Okay. So now that you have this one survival emotion, worry, I want you to go here. What limiting state of mind are you feeling with that emotion? Most of us don't realize that we carry these states of mind often, self-involved. I need to be affirmed, distracted, complaining, confused, right? We got overwhelmed, right? Competitive, controlling. Some of us don't even realize that we have these emotional states, and we don't even realize that this has been a state of being that you have adopted. It's a part of your personality. Some of you are like, I know, I'm competitive and I like it. And it can cause you to have issues with other people, right? So we want to identify not only the emotion, but your state of being, right? Distracted, overwhelmed. Yes. Okay. So the next stage is you got to admit who you truly are. Now, for me, I'm going to admit to God. This is not a spiritual thing. Trying to get you guys to go to God. You have to realize you are a spiritual being having a human experience, right? So if you know that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, I don't know what your spiritual path is, but what I am saying is you have to admit who you truly are. And this is the homework. Again, these slides, you guys, this takes a long time to get through. I'm not expecting everyone to get through. I'm just giving you an overview, right? You need to say, I'm afraid of falling in love because it hurts too much. Admit that. And you need to write this stuff in your journal. For me, it's like, I didn't, for the longest time, I didn't want to be nice to my husband because I thought being nice to him equated to the fact that, I was less than, or he was going to get over on me. That was the state of mind that I grew up with. Why? Because I had a mom who was constantly fighting with my father. And she always kept this wall up, and for rightfully so, probably. But that's not my experience. I had to admit this, and I had to lay this down. Yes, and 7 siblings, exactly. So you have to admit who you truly are. Until you can admit it and open up who you truly are, not the person you give people to perceive, then you don't master your mindset. A lot of us think because we're not doing this work, we're living dual lives. We're living the life that we show people and the life that behind the screens. And that's the reason why we're being impacted like this. Next, you have to surrender. So you're like, what do you mean surrender? When you admit it, you have to surrender it, and how that feels in your body. When you surrender in sincerity, humility, honesty, and certainty, and clarity, and passion, you get to have joy, love, freedom, awe, and exuberance, and inspiration. I get so many people who will go, how are you have so much energy? You did da. Well, it's because I work on myself. And I'm trying to be a better person every single day than the person I was yesterday by mastering this mindset. Surrender. Then you have to go throughout your day and observe your daily patterns, because you're like, oh, okay, so I just do that in the morning time and then I'm good? Negative. All throughout your day, you're going to have to observe your daily patterns, because what's going to creep up are these automated negative thoughts. I'll never get a new job. No one ever listens to me. And we have this thing called the articular activation system, articular activation. I can't say it, I'm saying it right, but anyways, it's where your brain starts to look for affirmations of how you feel, right? And you're going to immediately go back to that rut that you have been living in. You have to observe these things and realize where you might be, right? I hate my situation. My life sucks. So let me give you an example. So in the morning time, you do your meditation, you feel good, you get up from your meditation, and somebody cuts you off and say, see, that's what I'm talking about, right? Because you're going to immediately go back. So you have to check this. Then what do? You kill the ants and redirect, right? For me, because I'm likely to stay in mindfulness, is you redirect and loudly say in your mind, change or false, or for me, God shift my mind. And I insert an I am statement. I am confident. I am strong. I am loved by God. These are the things I say to myself during the day. But if 95%, ladies, if 95% of your life is coming from your subconscious programs, you're on autopilot most of the day, right? And so for a lot of people who do this meditation in the morning time and they don't check back in with themselves during the day, it's like you're not okay. Y'all feeling this? Can I get some comments? So this is when I wish we were all open and we were in a room together. We were maybe drinking some tea. We could say, do you feel this? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is something that we have to work on every single day. Okay. All right. This is amazing. Okay. So helpful. This is hard work. Christina. Exactly. That's why I'm still 25 years in. Guess what? We have a lifetime. Personal development never, ever ends. Ever. Ever. This is an everyday practice. Keep it real, CC. Come on now. Rejoice when you see the ants when they happen. That's right, Betsy. Rejoice when you see these ants happen, because that means you are awake. You're conscious, right? You're conscious. Some of you guys are still walking around asleep, wondering why is life always happen to me this way? It just never happens to me. That's because you are projecting out what you're projecting it out. It's coming right back to you. Here we go. Daily practice, y'all. Here we go. Get up at the same time to sit in silence and meditate. Right? I'm just wrapping it all together. All right? Pray and surrender. Take time to consciously breathe. And we're going to practice that right now. Ladies, I want you to take a time to sit down. And I know that you probably had this in your power hour. If you are not consciously breathing on a daily basis, you are missing out. Why? Because for me, God in his infinite wisdom designed this body of mine to have regulatory practices built within this body. It's called a diaphragm and lungs. And then he created this thing called the nervous system. And the nervous system, when triggered, can cause you to spiral out of control. And if you consistently live in that negative nervous state, your immune system will be affected. That's why we go into disease. So let's sit up if we can, shoulders back, sit up. And I would like to take us a minute. I'd like to close your eyes. And I would like you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And keep that rhythmic breathing at your own pace. And we're going to do this for 1 minute. Can you give you guys that self for 1 minute? Just breathe. Slow your thoughts down. And stop. Some of you are already checked out at 20 seconds. Some of us are like, I don't have time to breathe. This is crazy. This is ridiculous. And for a lot of us, we think it's silly. We think it's stupid. We think it's whatever. For especially because this is my work, because I have come from trauma, I recognize the importance of conscious breathing. It's extremely important. And I want you to be able to equip young people with the ability to be able to consciously breathe, right? Journal. Some of you guys are like, I don't journal. Okay. Well, let me tell you something. Okay. Shameless plug here. I have my This Yogi's Journey journal, but you know, I got to plug my girl, Michelle, who talked about, maybe that'll wake you guys up. Michelle, who talks about journaling. Yes, right? She talks about journaling, and she's just talking about, hey, you know, I stopped journaling and then I picked it back up because she became awake. Another practice idea, moving your body, practicing yoga, reciting daily positive affirmations, playing positive calming music, aromatherapy, reading your Bible, whatever you read, whatever it is in your religion. Inspiring, if you don't have a religion, don't worry about it. Read some inspiring books and words and books. Be positive. That's why I have little words around my house. If you come to my house, you will see words everywhere because I love to be surrounded around them. Initiate random acts of kindness and take time to connect with others. I have a grid here because I'm, you know, you would appreciate that, right, Nina? Is to have this, you know, a grid. Some of us are analytical like that, some not. But if you take time, you know, to write down your practice ideas, you're more likely going to be able to do them. Some of us need to set notifications throughout the day. Set your notifications to breathe and to pray. Oh gosh, I need to connect with myself. Can you give yourself 5 minutes to do that? Because again, if 95% of your life is operating out of these programs, you're going unconscious. Sabrina asked, does the effect on the immune system from primarily, hold on one second. Can you read that? Let me see. Does the effect on the immune system from prior trauma stay with you forever, or does doing the hard work and getting to a better place? Yes, Sabrina. Good question. Yes. Doing the hard work of these things reverses it. Why? Because you're not living with that. Because like I said, when I started to feel this come on, you know, this trauma come on, I started feeling my body feeling that, right? And then I had to get right back into my practice deeply. Exactly. Yes. Hopefully that helps. Okay, guys. So what I want to do, because it's 12:52, I wanted you to challenge yourself. Try doing a practice for 30 days. Just say, okay, you know what? For 30 days, I'm just going to journal every day. No matter what comes up, I'm just going to journal. Or for 30 days, I'm going to set my alarm for 10 and 2, and I'm going to breathe for 5 minutes, right? I just want you to give yourself a challenge and then document results. See how it is for you. I gave you some books. They're all right here, right? So we can get that out to everyone. Shameless plug, Inspiration Memory Shoes, and This Yogi's Journey is at the top. Okay, but The Deepest Well, for those of you who are in trauma, that is an amazing book. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, I love because it basically talks about all that. You're shaking your head that you've read that. Perfect. Lastly is my Pivot and Rise Mastermind. I want to plug this. I have a mastermind that's starting. It's it's a 3-month mastermind. We start on next Saturday. We're going to be going through stuff like this. This is the work, right? I'm trying to have advocates who are in schools, in organizations, who know their calling. They know how to master their mindset. They are going to be doing their own personal development, their professional development, and they're advocating for social and emotional learning, for trauma-informed care, and for empathy and teaching about this in schools and in organizations. Empathy is a strategy, right? It's a strategy, and most organizations need to have that, and we need RISE advocates advocating that along with the Women of Toledo talking about this. It's 12:54. Oh, by the way, go to riseadvocates.com to learn more. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Ladies, do y'all have some questions? Is this